then we endeavour to obtain it. Those things, however, are possible which may be accomplished through ourselves. For things which are accomplished through our friends, are in a certain respect effected through ourselves, since the principle is in us. But at one time instruments are explored, and at another time the use of them. And in a similar manner in other things, at one time, indeed, that being investigated through which the end may be obtained, and at another time the manner. Man, therefore, as we have said, appears to be the principle of actions. But consultation is about things which may be performed by man, and actions are for the sake of other things. Hence, the end will not be the object of consultation, but things which pertain to ends. Neither, therefore, will particulars be the objects of consultation, as whether this thing is bread, or is well baked, or is made as it ought to be, for these things pertain to sense. But if a man always consults, there will be a procession to infinity. The object of consultation, however, and the pre-eligible, or object of deliberate choice, are the same, except that the object of pre^election or deliberate choice is something which is now definite. For the pre^eligible is that which is preferred from consultation. For every one ceases to investigate how he shall act, when he has reduced the principle to himself, and to that part of himself which ranks as the leader, since this part is that which he deliberately chooses. But this also is evident from the ancient polities which Homer has imitated. For the kings of these polities announced to the people what they had deliberately chosen to do. Since, however, that which is pre^eligible is an object of consultation, appetible of things which are in our power, pre^election also, or deliberate choice, will be an appetite of or tendency to things in our power, accompanied with consultation. For forming a judgment in consequence of having consulted, we desire conformably to consultation. We have, therefore, adumbrated what pre^election is, and what the things are with which it is conversant, and have shown that it belongs to things which have reference to ends. CHAPTER IV. That will, however, pertains to the end, we have shown. But this end to some persons appears to be the good, and to others apparent good. But it happens to those who say that the object of the will is the good, that what he wills who does not choose rightly is not an object of will. For if it were an object of will, it would also be good. It may, however, happen to be bad. And it happens to those who say that the object of the will is apparent good, that the object of the will has not a natural subsistence, but is what appears to any one to be eligible. A different thing, however, appears to be eligible to a different person. And if it should so happen, contraries appear to be eligible. If, therefore, these things are not approved, we must say that simply and in reality the good is indeed the object of the will, but that apparent good is the object of the will to every one. To the worthy man, therefore, real good is the object of the will, but to the bad man, casual good, just as in bodies, to such as are well disposed. Those things are salubrious which are in reality so, but other things to such as are diseased. And the like takes place in things that are bitter, sweet, hot, heavy, and each of the rest. For the worthy man judges of every thing, rightly, and in every thing the truth presents itself to his view. For according to every habit, there are things beautiful and delectable which are peculiar to that habit. And perhaps the worthy man very much excels others in this, that he sees the truth in every thing, being as it were the rule and measure of things. But with the multitude, deception is present on account of pleasure. For pleasure, though not good, appears to be so. The multitude, therefore, choose the delectable as good, but fly from pain as an evil. CHAPTER V. Since the end, therefore, is the object of the will, but things pertaining to the end are the objects of consultation and deliberate choice, the actions which are conversant with these will be actions of deliberate choice and voluntary. But with these the energies of the virtues are conversant. Virtue, therefore, also is in our power, and in a similar manner vice. For in those things in which to act is in our power, not to act is also in our power. And in those things in which we have the power not to act, we have likewise the power to act. Hence, if to act worthily is in our power, not to act basely will likewise be in our power. And if we have the power of not acting worthily, we have also the power of acting basely. But if to act, and in a similar manner not to act worthily and basely are in our power, and this is to be good or bad, it will be in our power to be worthy or depraved characters. And to say with a certain tragic poet that no one is willingly depraved, nor unwillingly blessed, seems to be partly false and partly true. For no one is unwillingly blessed, but depravity is voluntary. Or unless this is admitted, what we have just now asserted must be controverted, and it must not be said that man is the principle and generator of actions in the same manner as he is of children. But if these things are admitted, and we cannot refer them to any other principles than those which are in our power, it follows that those things are in our power, and are voluntary, of which also the principles are in our power. The truth of this appears to be attested both privately by individuals and publicly by legislators themselves. For they castigate and punish those who act depravely, if they do not act from compulsion or from ignorance of which they were not the causes. But they honour those who act well, in order that they may excite these, and impede those. No one, however, exhorts others to the performance of such actions as are neither in our power nor are voluntary, because no advantage can be derived from persuading us not to be hot, or be in pain, or be hungry, or any thing else of the like kind. For notwithstanding the persuasion, we shall no less suffer these things. For legislators also punish a man for his ignorance, if he appears to be the cause of his ignorance. Thus double punishments are ordained for those that are intoxicated. For the principle is in themselves, because they have the power of not becoming intoxicated, and this, i.e. intoxication, is the cause of their ignorance. They likewise punish those who are ignorant of any thing which is legally established, which ought to be known, and which it is not difficult to know. And in a similar manner in other things, which men appear to be ignorant of from negligence, and of which it is in their power not to be ignorant. For it is in our power to pay attention to what ought to be known. Perhaps, however, it may be said that a man is a person of such a character that he cannot pay attention, but such persons are themselves the causes of their characteristic qualities in consequence of living negligently. The causes likewise of men being unjust or intemperate are in themselves in consequence of the former acting wickedly, and of the latter spending their time in drinking, and things of the like kind. For energies in every thing render those who employ them similar to such energies. This, however, is evident from those who exercise themselves in any contest or action, for they persevere in energizing. To be ignorant, therefore, that in every thing from energizing about the thing habits are produced, is the province of a very insensate man. Again, it is absurd to suppose that he who acts unjustly is unwilling to be unjust, or that he who acts intemperately is unwilling to be intemperate. But if any one does those things from which he will be unjust, not ignorantly, he will be unjust willingly. Nevertheless, though he should wish, he will not cease to be unjust, and become just. For neither does he who is diseased become well by wishing to be so, even though it should happen that he is voluntarily diseased, by living intemperately and disobeying his physicians. Prior, therefore, to his living intemperately, it was in his power not to be diseased. But after having abandoned himself to intemperance, it was no longer possible, as neither is it possible for him who has thrown a stone to resume it. At the same time it was in his power to emit from his hand and hurl the stone, for he contained the principle of action in himself. Thus, also, to the unjust and intemperate man it was possible from the beginning not to be unjust and intemperate, on which account they are voluntarily so, But when they are become such characters, it is no longer possible for them not to be so.